Has America's $2 million stealth missile been cracked open after Iran reportedly recovered another largely intact JASSM? Are America's stealth missile secrets now at risk after Iran's latest reported JASSM recovery? A third reported JASSM recovery fuels fresh fears in Washington over possible reverse engineering of U.S. technology. Could Iran's latest missile trophy provide a rare window into some of America's most advanced stealth capabilities? The reported recovery of a U.S. missile in Iran has raised fresh concerns about possible reverse engineering of advanced American weapons. Iranian media reportedly showed security forces recovering what appeared to be an intact U.S. AGM-158 JASSM warhead. The reported recovery marked the third known case of an apparently intact WDU-42B penetrator being recovered in Iran. Open-source images appeared to show the penetrator remaining largely intact despite sustaining heavy impact damage. AGM-158 JASSM. Technical details. Primary role: low observable, long-range precision cruise missile for high-value strike missions. Warhead: WDU-42B 1,000-pound hard-target penetrator designed for hardened structures. Smart fuse: FMU-156B delayed action fuse that detonates after penetrating the target. Guidance: GPS-INS navigation combined with an imaging infrared terminal seeker. Flight profile: low altitude, terrain following stealth cruise to reduce radar detection. JASSM ER range: approximately 925 to 980 kilometers, depending on the missile variant. Launch platforms: compatible with B-52H, B-1B, B-2, F-15E, F-16 and F-35 aircraft. Estimated unit cost: around $2 million per missile, according to published estimates. Analysts said the reported recovery could allow Iran to study the missile's fuse logic and penetrator metallurgy in detail. The report said repeated access to intact components could help Iran improve its missile defenses and countermeasures. Western analysts said there is still no independent evidence confirming that the reported missiles were actually shot down. The report noted that battlefield recoveries have often helped rival countries develop similar military technologies. Iran has previously used captured drones and other weapons to support its domestic defense development programs. The report said Russia or China could also benefit if Tehran chose to share technical findings with its allies. The reported recovery came after claims that more than 1,000 JASSM missiles were fired during the conflict. The JASSM remains one of the United States' principal long-range standoff weapons against heavily defended targets. Polish authorities reportedly moved Patriot missiles out of their own military stockpile and into Ukrainian hands, a covert transfer that bypassed public disclosure and raised urgent questions about Warsaw's unilateral decision-making. Sources say the secret shipment of Patriot interceptors occurred in the spring of 2026, a period when the conflict's dynamics and diplomatic sensitivity made such a transfer especially consequential. The weapons were taken from Poland's operational inventory rather than from surplus stocks, a choice that noticeably reduced the country's own air defense reserves and left questions about how Warsaw will cover the resulting gap. Patriot interceptors continue to rank among NATO's most expensive and technically demanding air defense munitions, making each loss difficult and costly to replace on short notice. Production lines for advanced interceptors are under intense strain as demand surges from active conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, squeezing manufacturing capacity and prolonging delivery times. A wave of targeted Russian strikes on Patriot batteries in Ukraine has sharply increased Kyiv's need for replacement interceptors, accelerating depletion rates and heightening procurement urgency. Many European NATO members have already drawn down large portions of their Patriot interceptor stockpiles to bolster Ukraine, leaving Allied inventories significantly depleted and vulnerable. Unlike some partners, Poland had maintained relatively larger Patriot reserves because of its frontline position and acute security threats, a precaution that made its recent transfer politically and militarily notable. Poland's geography, sharing frontiers with Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia's Kaliningrad exclave, amplifies its defense concerns, making any reduction in air defense capability a matter of both national and NATO-wide significance. Earlier this year, at the height of the Iran conflict, Warsaw declined a direct U.S. request for Patriot interceptors, saying it could not spare the systems despite intense Allied pressure. Polish officials repeatedly argued that their Patriot missiles were essential not only for national air defense but also for safeguarding NATO's vulnerable eastern flank, making any transfer politically and militarily fraught. Government spokespeople publicly insisted that Poland's Patriot batteries would remain in place and would not be relocated, signaling a firm commitment to domestic and regional security needs. U.S. military sources say American forces launched more than 800 Patriot interceptors in a furious 5-day period against incoming Iranian strikes, a tempo that rapidly consumed U.S. missile stocks. As a result of intense operations, Washington's own Patriot missile reserves were severely drawn down, leaving U.S. inventories thinner than defense planners had anticipated. Polish officials argued that, with Washington's large-scale use of interceptors, the United States had effectively committed roughly half of NATO's available air defense capacity, increasing Allied vulnerability. In public statements, Warsaw emphasized that protecting Poland's national security would always take precedence over external requests, framing the issue as an existential duty to its citizens. But despite those earlier denials, subsequent reporting indicates Poland later chose to divert Patriot missiles from its own stocks to Ukraine, a reversal that surprised many allies. By prioritizing Ukraine's urgent battlefield requirements, Warsaw effectively placed Kyiv's immediate defense needs ahead of preserving its own interceptor reserves, a calculation with strategic consequences. The decision to transfer interceptors to Ukraine also ran counter to U.S. appeals for Allied assistance in replenishing America's depleted Patriot inventory, complicating cooperation among partners. U.S. officials have reportedly warned Warsaw about the possibility of future Russian actions targeting Poland, according to reports. The Independent said Moscow could target critical infrastructure or stage a limited border incident to raise tensions. The warning comes shortly after Poland halted plans to transfer additional MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. Warsaw said Kyiv failed to deliver the promised drone technology despite Poland's offer of military assistance. Poland has remained one of Ukraine's strongest military and political backers since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. Amid these developments, sources told Polish outlet Anet that Russia could stage a provocation within the coming months. The reported objective would be to test NATO's resolve and increase pressure over continued Western support for Ukraine. Sources said possible scenarios include drone strikes or missile attacks against key Polish infrastructure. They also warned of a limited ground incursion that could be portrayed as an accidental crossing of the border. Officials reportedly fear Russian or Belarusian troops could cite GPS errors or rescue missions as justification. Sources claimed Moscow could use such pressure to demand reduced Western military support for Ukraine. Baltic security sources also warned that similar hybrid provocations could be directed at other neighboring NATO members. The Independent said Russia's heavily militarized Kaliningrad exclave remains a potential launch point for such operations.